Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. I'm interested in the story that seems to be unfolding over there when it comes to Hillary Clinton. And notice that my good friend Eric Bolling was talking about this to some Democratic strategists. Interesting seeing how it's being covered. But are the Democrats worried? This is what Eric Bolling over there at Fox had to say.
In the Unresolved Problems segment tonight, the Democratic Party beginning to panic about Hillary Clinton. New reports say that more and more Democrats fear serious damage to her candidacy as the debacle over her private email server grows worse by the day. Despite the scandal, some of Hillary's allies are still saying that there's nothing to see here.
There's nothing criminal about any of this. She never did mail classified information, not labeled as such. I think she's been completely truthful. And this is an attempt by the Republicans to smear the frontrunner early on. It's a classic. This is going on since Whitewater and Vince Foster.
Hillary has been completely truthful. But regardless of that defense, Hillary's problems are fueling speculation about how vulnerable she is to her Democratic rivals.
Is it possible that some moderate challenge to Clinton could, whether it's Jim Webb or somebody else?
It's hard to see how a moderate wins either one of these nominations.
The party is going the other way.
The energy is, go where the energy is. That's what gets people
If
nominated.
Elizabeth Warren to declare tomorrow, where do you think she'd be in the polls?
20 points ahead in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Then Bernie Sanders?
No, ahead of Hillary.
Yeah.
Ahead of
20
both.
points ahead of
both.
Joining us now with reaction from Dallas, former Clinton White House aide Keith Boykin, and with me in New York, Democratic pollster Jessica Tarlov. Keith, let me start with you. Howard Dean, nothing to see here?
Well, you know, like he said before, we've been through this whole Clinton controversies going back to the Vince Foster. They accused her of killing her friend Vince Foster, for God's sake. They accused her of being involved in the Whitewater scandal. They accused her of Benghazi controversies. This is nothing new in terms of the accusations against Hillary Clinton, but the reality is she's been a very resilient person, a very resilient political figure. I think she's going to weather this storm.
But Keith, in hindsight,
she's doing quite well in the polls.
In hindsight, there actually was some there on some of the things. Now, you know, you may push back on the Vince Foster, but we certainly have found out a lot of things about some of the other scandals. You could talk about Whitewater, you talk about Travelgate, some of the other scandals. There were things there that people, frankly, I think it is fair game that people should know about. Let me bring it to Jessica. Go ahead. You want to respond to that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I disagree with that. And the reality is that she's been Secretary of State, she's been a senator, she's been a First Lady, and she's doing incredibly well in the polls despite all the controversy that's surrounding her. People know who Hillary Clinton is. People already have a good idea of who she is.
Let me bring it over to Jessica. She was doing incredibly well in the polls, but that support is sliding. Yeah,
absolutely. In New Hampshire, we saw a poll where Bernie Sanders is up. It is his backyard, so that makes a difference, and she's still up. And across the country, 35 points, I think it is, but it used to be over 60. I think the point here is that not so much whether something wrong happened or not, but what people feel and what they're hearing about her. I realize that no one has talked about a Hillary Clinton policy in quite some time, and that's the issue here. Hillary Clinton has the best policies for this country. We're just hearing about the scandals instead of what she's going to be offering moving forward, and I think that's really what's hurting her.
Keith, should she focus a little bit more on policy? Should she be answering more questions? Frankly, she hasn't had to because she had such a commanding lead. As that lead shrinks, maybe she needs to get out in front and tell us what she's all about.
Well, I think she has spoken very clearly about policy. Remember, Hillary Clinton has been in the public sphere for decades now, and people know what her views are. But she's starting to articulate, I think, very progressive views on voting rights, her policy on universal voter registration, for example, on education, affordability. I think that's a very progressive idea. That's very positive for the Democratic Party. And I think that her message is going to get out there. Now, mind you, she has a race on her. She's still got Bernie Sanders out there on her heels, and Martin O'Malley's in the race. I think the Democrats have an embarrassment of riches compared to the Trump clown show in the Republican Party. So I think the Democrats are in a great position.
Go ahead, Jay. I mean, look, that is a common theme among the left, that you have an embarrassment of riches because you have a candidate that's been basically coronated. She was going to be the inevitable.
Not basically coronated. I mean, we're having real discussions about Joe Biden. We are about maybe John Kerry, throw in that he may have a
but Jessica, we've been doing TV together for the better part of 2 years, and this is in the last, week and a half or so, everyone's saying, Joe Biden, hey, no scandals.
I don't think that. And I think Joe Biden has bigger problems than that. I mean, if anyone is closely tied to President Obama who's not overwhelmingly popular right now, it's Joe Biden. But what I would say to Keith's point about her articulating her policies, I agree that she's saying it. What I'm saying is no one is hearing her because all that we're hearing about is the controversy. So as I said, she has the best policies for the country. Yes, some of them are progressive, some of them down the middle, like her tuition policy from just this week, I think is great.
Yeah,
a balance between federal spending.
Keith, didn't she have to release that? Hold on. Just let me ask this question. I mean, it's very obvious. She came out with a $350 billion policy proposal that she threw out there, but she did that on the heels of Bernie Sanders putting 100,000 people in seats on the West Coast. Maybe this is in response. She's getting nervous. Keith.
Is that to me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think, look, Bernie Sanders is making Hillary Clinton a better candidate, no doubt about it. You know, look how much money he's raised. He's raised more money in terms of independent fundraising, not super PAC fundraising, than all the other Republican Party candidates. He's the only person who's ahead of him in terms of fundraising is Hillary Clinton. That shows how strong the Democratic Party field is. And the fact that he's drawing 20, 30,000 people is a good sign for the Democratic Party. And that's pushing Hillary Clinton to be progressive. And I think it's going to be, good for the party.
He's far left of Hillary Clinton, and she's trying to carve out some of that space for her own, moving herself left. Very quickly, about a minute.
And she has a 24-point lead in Iowa. She only had a 7-point lead. She only had a 7-point lead in the 2008 race.
But nationally,
Jessica,
nationally, she had a 60-point lead. That's shrunk in half.
This is a good thing. Keith is correct about that. We don't want a coronation. The right doesn't want it. The left doesn't want it. Why not? That's not. It's not what democracy is all about. We want to see competition. We want to see.
You want to win, don't you?
Yeah. When we will end up winning.
I don't know. Keith, I love football. I love football, but you know what? I want my team to win all 16 games. I don't want to see a close game. And you know what? I don't want to hope that the other team doesn't kick a field goal in overtime and beat me.
We still have a year.
I just want to win the Super Bowl. I don't care about all the other games. Just win the Super Bowl.
Very good. Me too. Let's leave it at that.
So what do you think about that, Sigmund Kramer? Looks like it's pretty messy for Hillary. And all of a sudden, guys like Al Gore, what a blast from the past,
right.
Who I guess they're envisioning themselves as the knights in shining armor, coming to the rescue in this scenario. Because it looks like the Democrats could need rescuing.
Well, when you have to turn to Joe Biden and Al Gore as kind of the B string, to maybe come in, do the relief pitching on this Democratic.
Kind of like when they pulled Walter Mondale in back to run for U.S. Senate a few years ago, and and the Republicans actually picked up a Minnesota seat. Didn't have it for long. They eventually lost it to Al Franken, but that shows you desperation.
Was it Lautenberg?
No, I can't remember who it was.
It wasn't Mondale. I think it was. But anyway,
no, it was Mondale.
It was.
Mondale. Now in Lautenberg in I guess Pennsylvania or New Jersey, wherever he was from, he was appointed. He did have it, but Mondale was asked to run. To fill Paul Wellstone when he died in that plane crash.
Yeah,
he was asked to run to fill that seat. And then a Republican actually won that seat.
Yeah, I missed that it was Mondale. Interesting. Well, look,
kind of reminds me of that though. When you
it does. I mean, obviously Hillary Clinton's starting to stink, and it's really scaring the Democratic Party. Now Bernie Sanders is doing very well, but can he really carry the nation? I don't know. I mean, he's awfully left.
Boy, is he ever.
And Hillary Clinton, again, boy, she just really thinks, or maybe it's just out of sheer will, she wants to will herself into the White House, and it's basically her turn, right?
Her style to governing is, and to her behavior in general, really doesn't work in the transparent culture that we live in. And I know that the media tries to make things opaque. But the reality is that, talk about transparent. She's so transparent in her duplicity, her deception. And, Americans are sick of it.
Well,
I mean, we're willing to let a guy do on-the-job training like Donald Trump to be president of the United States to get rid of the smoke and mirrors and backroom deal-making type of politics that we have grown sick of.
I don't know. My face just made a weird contortion.
Yeah, I noticed that. I just thought you had tummy trouble.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Donald Trump, that's how he makes his living.
But Americans don't know that, and Americans don't care.
Well, they'll figure that out.
And what you do in business is different in politics, although politics is a business, and Americans haven't put that together either.
Right.
And that the fact that he is the quintessential poster child of crony capitalism. He has, I'm not dealing with reality. I'm dealing with a perception that's driving our political culture today.
She's Marie Antoinette. I mean, she's very cold. She's very calculating. She's like a cross between Machiavelli and Marie Antoinette.
Yeah.
And I think that it's hard to warm up to Hillary Clinton. No longer is she the most the smartest woman on earth. Those days have come and gone. And so she's got a lot of baggage, and it's not all under her eyes.
No, it's not. And it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. By the way, it was 2002. Paul Wellstone died in a plane crash while he was beginning to fill out a possible presidential run. By the way, Paul Wellstone and Bernie Sanders were like ideological, best buddies. They were very close allies. Kind of adds to the irony of the whole deal if you think about that in the scenario today. Right. He wasn't Bernie Sanders of 2002 and died in a plane crash. And they needed somebody, and they ended up asking Walter Mondale. I love the cartoons I saw of, get out of the bed. Come on, get up. A very aged.
It's sad as I didn't even know he was still alive back then.
And he's still alive now.
Oh.
And
he's like Abe Vigoda.
Yeah, he just isn't going. Of course, Abe looked like he was 90 when he was 40.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy, guy.
But he's got to be 90-something now.
Is he still alive?
Yeah. I know. That's my point. But Hillary Clinton may not be. I mean, that's where we're going with this is
politically he may be dead.
Her campaign may be shot. But, again, she's married to Bill. Bill was the Teflon Don. He was able to he was Slick Willie for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And I think that some of it's rubbed off on her out of sheer force of will. Yeah. She will make that happen. She will make you not, remember that she's crooked. What's hilarious is the obvious parallels between this and Watergate.
Yes.
The missing tapes, and she was involved with that on the investigative side, on the prosecutorial side. And, all the vim and vigor she had to go after Richard Nixon, she has none of that.
None of it. Yeah.
In terms of wanting
and
people to come after her.
And you talk about sowing and reaping. It's interesting where she is now.
Karma, baby. Karma.
In light of where she was back in the 1970s and how she was, was vigilante justice is what she was pursuing.
Right.
Norm Coleman was the guy who eventually beat Fritz Mondale. Yeah, and by the way, it was Ben Lautenberg was the senator from New Jersey.
Frank
Lautenberg, rather, the senator from New Jersey,
right,
who died 89 years old, something like that, just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Another guy forced out of bed, forced out of retirement to save his party.
Right.
So interesting stuff. The Democrats have a lot of codependence, it appears. All right, when we come back, so do the Republicans.
Yes, they do.
But when we come back, we're going to have much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. Also want to tell you today's show brought to you in part by our friends from execution.com. And this is The Price of Business.